Hey, welcome back. So as some of you may have seen, I just made a video about the best DPS on Honkai Star Rail, where I ended up crowning Acheron as the best DPS overall. You should go check it out. However, when reading the comments, I saw a pretty good number of people mentioning YUNLI, saying she's as good or better than Boothill and Rapa, so today, quite obviously, we're going to be looking at whether or not YUNLI should be a part of the top 5 DPS characters on Honkai Star Rail. Before we start, you should like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Trying to reach 2,500 subs before the end of the year, so help me get there. On your way down there, join the Express Raid Discord server. We just got the latest information about Fugan Sunday, so if you're interested, go check the Discord server out. Now let's get on to it. So I already went over Boothill and Rapa's kits in the previous video, so go check that out. Quick version though, they're both built with break effect. However, Rapa is a super break focused unit, and while Boothill does work very well in super break teams, using him with Bronya ultimately leads to more damage. Boothill has a physical weakness implant, while Rapa doesn't have an imaginary implant, but still reduces toughness for all enemies at a lower rate if they don't have an imaginary weakness. Boothill is a single target character, and he is one of the best boss killers. While Rapa is AoE, but could still work kinda well against bosses because she's still a super break character that can do huge amounts of damage. Ultimately though, both of them aren't as good as Firefly, Acheron, and Fei Xiao. Neither are as versatile as Firefly or Acheron, or do as much damage as Fei Xiao in most situations. And I gotta reiterate, the newest DPS and support characters will always seem very strong, because the new endgame cycles coming out will always cater to them, and with few coming out, in the end Super Break may actually receive the higher ceiling of damage it needs to beat out Fei Xiao and Acheron until the next best support for either of them comes out. Now let's actually move on to YUNLI. So she's a follow-up counter character. Her kit isn't too complicated, just the standard kit of a counter character. Unlike Clara though, she's got pretty insane multipliers, as well as a full-on taunt instead of just increasing the chance to get hit, and of course the fact that she can heal herself. And ultimately, easier YUNLI can do like twice the damage of E6 Clara. That's a standard versus limited 5-star for you. So what are her advantages and disadvantages? Let's use the same formula we used in the last video. First, her notable advantages. The fact she can heal herself is of course a huge one. This means even without a healer in some cases where the enemies aren't too strong, she can out-heal and out-DPS the enemies at the same time. This of course shows on the Destruction Only account too, where she is absolutely insane. She is also very powerful against both Pure Fiction and the MOC, while being debatably good for Apocalyptic Shadow. For Pure Fiction, then it's obvious that when there are so many enemies, she's going to get hit a lot and do many follow-up attacks. Meaning she's good in general, and especially good when Pure Fiction has a buff to follow-up attacks or counters. In the MOC, then she's pretty good overall as well, but especially when the enemies are very fast, most notably against YUNLI. I'm sure you've seen White Sky's video on this already, where she does absolutely insane damage with Robin, Tingyun, and Topaz. Now most players won't use this exact team and will use a healer instead, and of course will lose out on some damage, but the amount of damage she's actually doing is very comparable to even Fei Xiao's damage, let alone Boothill. However, without her Lycom, she's going to be slightly less effective since getting hit is a lot more RNG. To counter this, just use Lynx, who can increase the chances for destruction characters to be hit. In most normal builds, she's going to be a little less effective than Boothill and Rapa in my opinion, but in highly invested builds and teams, she's going to be similar to even Fei Xiao against enemies weak to physical. Finally, she takes huge advantage out of Robin, as well as Tingyun and Huohuo. These are all very great characters, and as we mentioned last time, whoever takes full advantage of a very good character like Robin is going to be very strong. As for her disadvantages, then first things first, she definitely relies on enemies to do damage. If an enemy is too slow or takes turns charging their attacks instead of attacking outright, then she's definitely going to struggle, losing a lot of damage when the enemy doesn't attack. When they do attack, for her credit though, she does a lot of damage. Secondly, she doesn't actually have any weakness implants. Unlike Boothill, she doesn't implant any physical weaknesses on the enemies that don't have it, and she doesn't even reduce them like someone like Rapa would, let alone have minus 20% resistance either way like Acheron. So she's going to be way less effective against enemies without a physical weakness. You can see this in Wyatt's video where she does way less damage against the first wave of enemies that don't have physical weaknesses. Of course, this doesn't matter in the long run because she's so good against YUNLI, but this point still stands. Finally, you're relying way too much on RNG without her Lycone and Lynx as we said. Yet again, just use Lynx, she's free. So basically, YUNLI is very good against fast enemies with physical weaknesses, and her effectiveness goes down as enemies slow down, do less attacks, or have no physical weaknesses. But is she better or worse than Boothill and Rapa? Does she fit in the top 5 DPS characters in the game? First things first, I want to mention that I think I'm going to consider Rapa as better than Boothill from now on. In the previous video I did say they were in the same slot for now because I didn't want to think too much about their situation. However, after a little more thinking from then to now, I can confidently say that I think Rapa is better. Boothill is not going to be effective at all in multi-target scenarios, while Rapa can still be pretty effective in even single-target scenarios. Boothill doesn't deal with the hunt path's weaknesses like Phase Shout to negate the fact that he's just a single-target character. Though, let's not take away from the other fact that he's an insane boss killer. Now, is YUNLI better than Boothill? Boothill cannot deal damage to enemies that cannot be weakness broken and will take at least 1 or 2 turns to break enemies that have a lot of toughness like YUNLI A. It'll take him a very long time to do the damage he needs to do, while YUNLI can start dishing out her damage instantly. I do think this offsets the fact that she can't implant a weakness, because in the end both will lose about the same amount of damage from these 2 points. So far, they're equal. What about their quality of life? Well, Boothill can delay enemies' actions with his burst, other than applying the physical weakness to them. This means that he can extend how many turns the enemies are broken for so he can keep doing damage. YUNLI can heal herself, meaning that, like Wyatt showcased, if you play well enough you don't need a healer. But also means that when playing with a healer you'll feel a lot safer. They're equal again I feel, so what about how their clears online look? In my opinion, YUNLI clears are a lot more impressive than the Boothill clears because YUNLI has a much riskier playstyle. Clears with Boothill are a lot safer and are a lot more guaranteed than clears with YUNLI because of the RNG elements of a counterattack or DPS. There are merits to both though. YUNLI ends up doing more damage, but doing any clear with her, whether zero cycling or not, will take more tries than a clear with Boothill, but Boothill will end up doing less damage. The damage of course depends on your build, but Boothill is a lot easier to build than YUNLI because he just needs break effect, attack and speed, while YUNLI needs crit stats and attack percent, as well as any defensive stats you can get your hands on, but these are just supplementary. This is also the same when it comes to team building, as Boothill can be used in super break teams, which are notoriously FTP friendly, despite needing YUNLI A, but that's just one limited 5-star. Boothill can also be used with Bronya instead of Harmony MC, reserving Harmony MC for a super break team, despite again still using YUNLI A. However, YUNLI's teams are a little harder to both create and justify. YUNLI isn't as good as Phase Shout, but she still needs Robin in her team to be as effective. She also would really love someone like Topaz or Moza, who also can be taken much better advantage of in Phase Shout teams. And finally Tingyun, who actually is best taken advantage of in YUNLI teams, so nothing to complain about here. In the end, I really hate to do this again, but I think I'm just going to put them in the same spot just like I did with Boothill and Rapa previously. I don't think YUNLI is better than Rapa, but definitely as good as Boothill at the very least, and better than him at higher investments and in the hands of players who like riskier playstyles. While players who want to relax and just click the auto battle button won't see much use out of her because of the auto battle AI is especially stupid with YUNLI's ult. So in the end, I think YUNLI definitely deserves to be a part of the top 5 DPSs, but I don't think she specifically outclasses Boothill. There's a lot of nuance, and when everything's taken into account, I think I'll keep them two in the same spot, recommending Boothill for those who want to chill more and YUNLI for those who are more serious. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Remember, I'm trying to reach 2,500 subs before the end of the year, so help me get there. I'd really appreciate it. And on your way down there, join the Express Train Discord server for any Star Rail news and any notifications for content I or any of the other CCs upload. Anyways, I will see you next time.